Well, Paul, thank you very much for those words of introduction. And notwithstanding the fact there are a few other things going on at the moment, I wanted to maintain my commitment to speak at this conference because of my recognition and appreciation of the incredible work that county councils do up and down this country for our communities. And also, Paul, I look forward to receiving a copy of that letter from the official, because ultimately I want to ensure that there is sufficient flexibility and scope to enable you to get on with the job, and how that's what you have been doing in driving innovation against what has been a challenging backdrop, but nonetheless how you have really succeeded in doing so. And I'll come on to talk about some of that forward look on the things that we have coming up and how I very much want to maintain a good and constructive dialogue as to how we can continue to work together effectively to deliver high quality services for all of the communities that we serve. And I think it's worth just underlining that sense of the relevance and significance of counties themselves. I was at the Cenotaph last week as we marked the centenary of the end of the Great War, and was reminded of the extraordinary sacrifices people made clearly through that very, very moving occasion, not just for their country, but under the banner of their counties, the Northumberland Fusiliers, the Bucks Volunteers, the Suffolk Regiments, the list goes on. Men who went to school together, supported their county cricket teams together, and died on the battlefield together. And I think it was a vivid reminder of the profound role that our counties play, not in the way that perhaps we've simply been debating it thus far today, but through our shared history, a sense of identity, and a real sense of place. And since taking on my role earlier this year, I've seen how the members of the County Council Network are such an essential part of this, giving voice to the people in your counties and providing those services that we all rely upon. Working alongside so many of you, it's only when you're up close that you see why local government is the most trusted part of government in this country. Because it's at times of significant change, and I know that this is certainly one of them, that we look to that local level for our anchor and representation in the places we call home, our counties. And it's an honor to represent you all, and it's a mission that is deeply personal for me. Local government, in so many ways, runs in my blood. My father built his career in local government, starting as a town clerk down in Cornwall and working his way all the way up. And I think that that has left an indelible impression upon me of the value, the significance, the importance of what local government does, and why I am a passionate believer in it, how it is a force for good, and how, as Secretary of State, I want to support your work in driving that agenda further forward in the months and years ahead. And it's perhaps this distinct knowledge that makes me so acutely aware of the challenges equally that you face. Big shifts in lifestyles, technology and demographics, part of which was obviously reflected in the conversation that you've just had in advance of this session. And yes, a challenging financial environment, an environment that was a legacy of some of the previous issues that we had to confront when we came into government back in 2010, where the state was borrowing £1 for every £4 it spent, where services were costing record amounts, but outcomes simply weren't improving, where a command and control approach to politics meant decisions that should be taken at the local level were invariably taken in Whitehall. And that's certainly not something I want to see returning. So point noted, Paul, if there are any issues that you're picking up. But in response and in partnership with government, you've had to drive efficiencies. Local government has been a trusted partner in dealing with some of those significant economic issues that we were presented with back in 2010. And I think that you've delivered under tremendous pressure. We continue to see county councils not only achieving value for money, but modernising and rethinking the way that you deliver services. Like in Nottinghamshire, where the Integrated Care Local Partnership uses YouTube to reach more users of health and adult social care. Or Hampshire, where they've made £8 million worth of efficiency savings in just 4 years, while maintaining a 97% rate for good services. Saving money across the board, yes, but equally, developing those efficient, targeted, and responsive services for the 21st century. And our digital declaration, led by my colleague, Rishi Sunak, the Minister for Local Government, who will be with you tomorrow, will help county councils increase these smarter uses of technology, putting you in the driving seat to build the public services for the future. I am so grateful for your efforts and how you've helped us bring the economy back from the brink. And it's only right that we build on your hard-won gains and ensure you have what you need to succeed. Our budget last month was an investment in Britain's future, ensuring we're open for business, cutting income tax for millions, increasing the national living wage, and backing public services like our NHS. But I believe it was also a budget for our counties. The £1 billion boost in local government will support some of our most vulnerable, tackling the mounting pressures around social care. We put £650 million for adults and children's social care in, and this includes £240 million to ease next year's winter pressures, just as we've done so for this year. And we're funding the expansion of our successful children's social care programmes to more councils, where we see high or rising numbers of children in care through an £84 million fund, and making a further £55 million available to the Disabled Facilities Grant in England. But when it comes to the social care system, there are serious long-term decisions to be made. You know, as well as anyone, how important it is to get this right. And I recognise the report that has been published earlier today in advance of this conference in highlighting some of the issues and the need for us to continue to work together as we look towards the spending review and also the social care green paper, looking at some of these issues on the integration between the health service and social care, where one starts and the other ends. Equally, looking at the means of funding and how we provide that stability for the future. Some of the issues that obviously I was listening to towards the end of your last session. It's why I am working with the Health and Social Care Secretary on the upcoming Green Paper on the future of social care. And I look forward to working with many of you on this as well as looking towards the spending review next year, where I will continue to be a champion for local government. Because I know how much this matters to you and the people you serve. Counties are at the heart of this challenge, and self-sufficient and resilient counties will be a part of this solution too. And that's where we have to get to. 2019 will be a turning point in this respect, with the outcomes of the Fair Funding Review and the Spending Review to come. We need a fairer system. I want to see an approach to distributing funding that means councils can see and understand the link between the circumstances on the ground and the money that you receive. and I'll be publishing a further consultation on this in due course. Ultimately, it will mean you have greater control over the money that you raise, something we've reinforced with our proposals to increase business rate retention to 75%. With more funding and greater control, I'm confident that our county councils can face the future with confidence. And part of facing the future is thinking about new ways our communities can be better served. Reorganisation of local government through unitarisation and mergers can improve services, as well as driving efficiencies. But they shouldn't be viewed as a quick fix to deal with immediate pressures. And it's never been the policy of the government to impose top-down solutions. While I certainly want to work with you and support this work, I have no intention of forcing reorganisation on local government where it isn't wanted or needed. Our criteria for unitarisation and mergers mean that only innovative proposals that improve services, enhance accountability, and deliver financial sustainability will go ahead. And all proposals have to be based on credible geography, and from next March, when the current process comes to an end, unanimous support from all councils, or alternatively, on a formal invitation from me for proposals. And I'll be setting out further details on my approach to this in due course. Now, in places like Buckinghamshire, for example, it's locally led proposals that will see, subject to parliamentary approval, the county having one single unitary council. And there, we now, I think, have an exciting chance to implement the kind of changes residents want and deserve. Because we've seen that rather than absorb everything at the top, reorganisation works best when services and community assets cascade down to the local level. It's something I saw a couple of months back in Cornwall, which has fully embraced the devolution agenda and where the council works hand in hand with towns, parishes and community. For example, there's a running track in Parr near St Austell that coincidentally I used as a child, and when it faced closure, the community stepped in and took it over. It's now thriving, and the group's ambitions now stretch to a new skate park, cafe and children's area. And we are seeing this kind of onwards devolution more and more from places like Wiltshire to Durham, because people want to say over what happens in their communities. And it's only when we put communities in the driving seat to decide their own priorities that I think we can really find the right local solutions to suit local circumstances. And in particular, it's important for disengaged groups to have that sense of ownership over the place they call home. A true localism in action are much needed for renewal of our democracy. And Paul, as you've indicated, I think that there is a debate to be had as to how we empower communities, how we look through the agenda of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and other means too, as to how we drive change and drive that sense of what the devolution framework looks like. But in many parts of our country, that sense of ownership depends on having a decent, affordable and secure home to live in. And because successive governments of all stripes have failed to build enough homes, we face the challenge of a generation. The last time Britain was building enough homes, our councils were making a huge contribution. Again today, councils want to step up and play their part, but they need to borrow more to build more. It's why the Chancellor's confirmation at the recent budget that we will remove the cap on how much councils can borrow to build more, I think is such a game changer. Councils will once again be on the front line of house building, and it's been great to see how warmly this has been welcomed by councils up and down the country. It's wonderful to hear the ambition so many have to take this chance to deliver the next generation of social housing, and why, with the long-term funding that we have committed to the housing association sector too, I think there is a real opportunity to drive innovation and look at different ways in which that can be provided. But County Council's involvement won't just end here, because a key part of ensuring we have a housing market that works for everyone is to make sure that we build to last. When it comes to initiatives such as neighbourhood planning, I think county councils can get engaged well, ensuring buildings reflect local tastes and preferences, working in different ways, supporting. And we've seen how things like neighbourhood plans can transform communities and help alleviate the housing crisis in the process. But also, one thing I did want to touch on this agenda of housing is the issue of homelessness. And I know we are all mindful of those who live without the security of a home, especially now, as the days get shorter and the nights get colder. Too many people still lack the simple comfort of a warm bed at the end of the day, and too many people are still living out on the streets. Our county councils are on the front line, something that's been reinforced by the 2017 Homelessness Reduction Act. The way homeless services are delivered are being transformed by putting earlier intervention and prevention in focus. But I know you need the right support if it's going to work. As part of our commitment to halve rough sleeping in this Parliament and reduce it entirely by 2027, we've allocated over £1 billion to reduce and prevent homelessness and rough sleeping. Our new rough sleeping initiative includes a £30 million fund targeted at local authorities, including county councils, with high levels of rough sleeping. And in recent months, they'll be getting support from a team of specialist advisors, helping to develop targeted plans to get reductions in rough sleeping in each of those areas. I know the winter ahead will be a testing time for many of us, but I have every confidence in our county councils and their ability to meet these major changes and challenges. But before I finish, I think I should say something about Brexit and the topic that has clearly been at the forefront of national debate. At the outset, I want to underline my appreciation for the work that county councils have been doing in preparation for our departure from the European Union, and indeed your engagement in the work that we have been doing, working across Whitehall, in terms of that preparation and the regular meetings and engagements that take place around all of that, to ensure that we can be confident as to our departure from the European Union and therefore the essential work that councils play within that. But in terms of the Brexit deal the Prime Minister has negotiated, I want to underline that this is a fair deal. It meets the objectives the Prime Minister set out at the beginning of the negotiations. It includes a significant concession and significant concessions from the European Union. Many of those who may now be critical of the deal are also some people who said that we would never get one. This doesn't mean we don't need scrutiny and debate. Absolutely. Of course, this needs to happen. But let me be clear, this deal delivers on the referendum. It takes back control of our borders, our laws and our money. It protects jobs, security and the union. And the alternatives to this deal simply take us back to square one. More division, more uncertainty, and a failure to deliver on the decision of the British people. And I think that we need to get on with the job and deliver Brexit, which is what this deal does. Because that means that we're better positioned to help you tackle the big issues that you face, from rough sleeping to adult social care, from children's services to house building. This country puts so much trust in its county councils. A trust that is deserved, I think, a trust that's been earned, a trust that explains why our counties have stood the test of time. That's why we need your passion, your ideas, your ambitions, your innovation. That's why I'm here to listen, and I look forward to some of those discussions that no doubt we will have in the coffee outside of this conference room. But also, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the work that you have done. Thank you for that innovation, that drive, that commitment, that passion that I know that you feel so acutely in serving our counties, in serving our communities, in ensuring that we have that strong, vibrant community sector, and in so doing, by working together to ensure that no one is left behind. Thank you very much.